It's SOT. It's you and me. John here, you there. And it is another go round of what's going on outside of this here continent. And there are a couple different places that we need to go. There was some movement in front offices that was made moves were made. English, John. Moves that were made this afternoon in Serie A. We got to get into that. We had a promotion playoff, the last promotion playoff in the English pyramid was earlier today. That was it started during SDHAM, ended shortly after SDHAM. And we'll get into that one a little bit. We'll get into promotion activities in the Netherlands. We will get into championships won in Argentina. We'll get into championships won in Portugal. And we will discuss Premier League dollars and things like that. So there's a lot to get into over the next little bit. And then obviously hour number 2 is picks of the week. I did the math, and of course it's my math. So anything is possible. But I actually finished in the plus substantively for the first time in months, just in time for me to wind up what's going on with this particular round. And I'm debating. I'm seriously debating. When we get to picks of the week, I will get into what I'm debating when it comes to timetables and such. So that is the rundown for tonight, and we'll get into all of the things. And tomorrow we got Major League Soccer to get into on SDHAM. I believe it is the return of Casey White. And Casey has been busy with NWSL and with Major League Soccer and with a lot of stuff. So we'll catch up with Casey and her globetrotting. Kaylor Hodges from the USL show is going to be joining us, and that will be at 10:30 Eastern time because we've got to talk about Spokane. We've got to talk about the USL Championship and League One and Prinks Cup, although I've yet to see a Prinks. But we'll get into all of that in hour number 2 tomorrow. Hour number 1, we'll recap the last weekend in Major League Soccer for the foreseeable future, 7 weeks. And we'll get into that coming up tomorrow morning, SDHAM at 9:05 Eastern time. So let's get you into what went down today. And probably the biggest news that happened this afternoon, tonight, however you want to phrase it, it was in Italy. And you had a front office that was basically blown apart. And it happened in the afternoon, and there was no it was fairly, how do we phrase this? It was not pretty. And so you were looking at everything in the afternoon. You're looking at all the championships, you're looking at promotion, you're looking at all the things, and then all of a sudden you see what was happening in Italy, and you're like, whoa. And it comes from Fabrizio Romano et al. And it was not pretty. Let's put it that way. It was not a pretty day. It was a great day if you're a Como fan. That goes without saying. Como makes it into international play, and you end up with AC Milan not. AC Milan finishes in 5th, Juve in 6th, Atalanta in 7th, Bologna 8th, Lazio 9th, Udinese in 10th. Sassuolo, Torino, Parma, Cagliari, Fiorentina, Genoa, and Lecce, the 3 that go down to Serie B, Cremonese, Verona, and Pisa. Jamie Vardy is now a part of Cremonese, trying to work their way back from Serie B. And he has an option year to determine whether or not he is going to actually return. So that is going to be one of the larger storylines. It's from those of us on the outside looking in. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what it looks like without Max Allegri in charge. And literally it came down as just like, boom, you're gone. You're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, and you're gone. And it literally was all of these things. Literally, you're looking at what was happening. And you go to Fabrizio Romano's Twitter sphere, X sphere, however you want to phrase it. So you end up with just craziness happening this afternoon. Colombia named their squad. Conceição is leaving Al Ittihad. AC Milan, and this happened like lunchtime, our time, sacked Max Allegri, CEO Giorgio Forlani, director Eli Tade, and head of scouting Jeffrey Moncada. All four gone. That happened this afternoon about 1 o'clock. So there was that to look into. And it was leaving with immediate effect. And it literally was boom, 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 boom. It was Moncada, and this was the order. Moncada, Tare, Forlani, and Allegri. Bang, 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 all gone. Conceição left Al Ittihad, mutual agreement. Portuguese coach in talks to discuss contractual agreements. And then he can listen to European clubs. Also, Colombia came out with their squad list. David Ospina, part of the keepers. You had Yari Mina on defense, along with Mojica and Machado. Jefferson Lerma in the midfield. Castaño, Puerta Arias, Carrascal, Quintero, and James. And then in the attack, Diaz, Campas, Gomez, Luis J. Suarez, Cordoba, and J.C. Hernandez. So that's your list there. Alessio Lisi left Osasuna as head coach with immediate effect. That happened this afternoon. Manchester United is going to start talks to keep Bruno Fernandes despite the £57 million release clause into his contract. They're open to rewarding him. Initial discussions took place to continue with Bruno despite Saudi and European clubs interested in poaching him from Manchester United. That scream that you heard was from Drew Dickinson. Spurs have been in advanced talks for weeks with Andy Robertson over a free. Deal's close. Juve also has now entered the race trying to hijack the move with a proposal. So now the decision is up to Andy Robertson himself. So interesting times there as we go. So you have, I'm trying to see what else I might have missed this afternoon. Okay, West Ham. Nuno is expected to leave. There were discussions this afternoon with the board that happened most of the time, we were on the air and into the afternoon hour time. So Nuno's deal allows for a summer parting of the ways. According to Jacob Steinberg at The Guardian, Scott Parker and Gary O'Neill are of interest. So you end up with Scott Parker, Scotty Too Hotty, having issues with Burnley, and he's sacked with a couple matches to go in the regular season. But sure, we'll go ahead and bring him in with West Ham, or Gary O'Neill, who has been in the championship. He's had a couple of Premier League opportunities. And so the expectation is to part company with Nuno this week. Called in for talks, discussions, likely to end with him out. Nuno didn't want to talk about his future after the relegation was official on Sunday. 3-year deal contained a clause that allowed him to be sacked without paying compensation. Nuno is also free to walk away. Club sources have said unlikely Nuno wants to stay. Sources close to David Sullivan, the club's largest shareholder, have said West Ham's co-owner is also minded to make a change despite previously showing support for Nuno. Former Wolves manager took over for Graham Potter, unable to keep West Ham out of the bottom three, backed with funds in January. But, and this is according to Steinberg, confusing training methods and team selections did not sit well with some players. Fifth manager in 2 years if Nuno's reign ends. Strasbourg's Gary O'Neill, formerly Bournemouth and Wolves. Slaven Bilic was linked before Nuno showed up. West Ham posted losses of £104.2 million in the last financial year and may need to bring up £150 million in sales. Bowen, Somerville, Fernandes, Souček, Mavropanos, Castellanos, Todibo Areola, unlikely to have a future at the club after the keeper's wife used social media to criticize both Graham Potter and Nuno Espirito Santo. So that is that's the latest with Nuno, and Nuno probably is no more. So you're looking at that as the future in West Ham, but also remember that with the future there, you're going to have to pay. If you are a taxpayer in London, you are going to be on the hook for about $2.5 million pounds. Sorry. The rent that is to be paid by West Ham had two clauses attached to it, or two outs. One if they were a Premier League club, and another if they were a championship club. With relegation happening, it is now where you are going to be on the hook for about £2.5 million. So you could not be a fan of. I was trying to figure out the right wording. You don't have to be a fan of West Ham, and then you would be on the hook for. Yeah, you would be on the hook for part of the £2.5 million. You'd be on the hook for that. Yay, if you're a fan. So that's what that's right now. That's what part of what West Ham is staring at is only having to pay £2.5 million in rent, but the rest of it comes from the taxpayers of the City of London since they play in London Stadium. So that's your makeup, right? That the makeup of those funds. Also on the board were the financial figures for Premier League clubs, as they are all the financials were squared away, and here's what each club is going to be making in the with the most recent revenue sharing table. And of course, if you are at the top, and it is a weighted scale for those of you who are not necessarily familiar, it's a weighted scale, and it is a projection of £3 billion of revenue distributed to the 20 English clubs. Arsenal is at the top, and once again, these are projections that are attached. Projection for Arsenal is at £198.7 million. You win the league. The international share is the equal share of the revenue coming from each aspect of the Premier League TV deal. You get an equal section of the UK TV deal and an equal section in the international deals. And you also get an equal share in central commercial revenue. But then you have facilities fees and merit payments that are different, and they're weighted. The facilities fees are different and range wildly depending on the size of the facility and capacities and all that. So each club in the UK TV share is going to get just under £32 million. Then central commercial is going to be the same at £11.5 million. The equal share of the international TV payments, £56.5 million. So walking out the door, if you did nothing, if you got no merit payments whatsoever, you would end up with revenue of 68 and literally just under £100 million, 99.9 projected. Then you get facilities fees, and once again, that's weighted to the capacity and the it's like capacity and tickets sold and all that. So facilities fees, they range. If Manchester United has the largest facility fee, 23.9 million it is projected. Then it's Arsenal at 23.6. Then it is at number 3, Manchester City. Actually, no, it's Liverpool at 21.7, Manchester City at 21.2, Chelsea's at 21.3. So you kind of know who the big six are. Spurs, by the way, at 20.9 for a facilities fee. Burnley has the lowest facilities fee at 10.7 million projected. Merit payments, and this is where the fun starts. Merit payments on the UK television contract. Arsenal would, in theory, be getting projected dollars 34.3 million pounds. And it goes down from there. It's like 1.7 each position, 1.7, 1.8. So if you're at Arsenal at 34.3, Bournemouth for their season gets 25.7 projected. Then it is Sunderland at 24, and it's also weighted. Brighton gets 23. They get more than Chelsea. Brentford gets more than Chelsea. Chelsea ends up with 18.9. They also get 22.5 in the international merit payments. So order's a little jumbled, but for the most part, it does make common sense. If you finish last, if you were relegated, you're relegated, you walk out the door at 99.9 million, basically 100 million pounds. You walk out the door with 100 million pounds from this season. Then you get facilities fees. So for Burnley, that would be projected another 10.7. Then you get 3.4 million pounds in merit payments for finishing next to last. Wolves, by the way, finishing last, would get the least revenue payment at 1.7 in merit in England, and then another 2 million in merit payments in the U.S. So at the end of it all, Wolves walk out the door with 117.7 million projected. Burnley at 118.1, and then West Ham, because of their pedigree and history, etc., West Ham would walk out the door at 128.6. Those are the three teams that are relegated. Projected revenue out the door, 364.5 million pounds among those three clubs. So you would be getting that out the door. We mentioned promotion and all of that. The last playoff promotion was decided earlier today. We mentioned that. And it was Notts County. Notts County in control from the absolute beginning in their matchup against Salford City. So Notts County now goes up to League One. And Nigel Rio-Coker and Troy Deeney caught up with their manager, Martin Patterson, courtesy of our friends at CBS Sports Golasso, about what this promotion means and all the hard work that went into it. They caught up with him after the match.
So obviously it's very, acute after the win, but if I'm honest, it's I have to be honest, it's relief. I'm not going to lie to you, it's a relief. I'm really happy. I've just spent a great moment with my wife and my kids, because people don't see the sacrifice. They don't see what you go through.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I always try to represent that and understand the viewers to understand how difficult football is an industry, and the time you spend away from your family, the good days, the bad days, the criticism, and then your family be there in moments like this. What does it exactly mean emotionally? It
means, for me, it's your body of work of 11 months of really hard work. From the first moment you go on the training field and push the players, and you put them through gaffer's day when you're telling them they're going to quit, and you know about that. So then all of a sudden, then it's about the first 10 games, proving yourself as a head coach. I'm only 18 months in, so I haven't got a body of work. I haven't got stripes. I haven't got. I've got words. People don't want to hear words. Yeah. They want to see performances and results. It's about winning.
Yeah.
So 11 months of trying to win, and then you get a moment like this where for 24 hours you can really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And then I have to sleep. I'm hoping the owners will buy me a new lawnmower. I've been hinting in the media about I haven't got a lawnmower. They haven't stepped up, but hopefully they will now. But what I will say is I'm being really honest with this, it's a relief, because now I've got to go up against teams that are in League One, bigger budget teams, teams that are even better. So I'll enjoy it now with my family, but I won't be taking my off my work, and that's to prepare for the next level.
Robert Patterson, the manager at Notts County, as he heads up to League One after their dominating win over Salford City earlier today. And so the last playoff promotion spot goes to Notts County. They head up to League One now, and now they're playing League One teams. So it's going to be it's a new day. Yes, it is, for Bolton, for Notts County, and for Hull City. So Hull City up to the Premier League, Bolton up to the Championship, Salford and Notts County knocking off Salford City. They go up to League One. And so we know the two teams heading up to League Two, which really means it needs to be three. But that's where we are with that rundown. So we know who's going up in England, and we know the chaos that is going to be attached to that next season. So then you get into the really cool moments that are in and around the sport. And one of those came in the second division in the Netherlands. And the promotion went into the promotion playoff went into penalty kicks. So it was an opportunity for William II, Willem II, to have their opportunity to go up to the Eredivisie, but they had to win in penalties to do it. And the guy that would be there last to do it would be their keeper. It would be their keeper to do it. And so you end up with, if I could spell it correctly, you end up with the keeper, Thomas Didion Hudel. And he was ready to go. So were the fans. Here was his moment from the spot to get their team promoted to the Eredivisie, courtesy of ESPN in the Netherlands. Here was their call, and yes, it is their call. So yes, it is in Dutch. Didion Hudel from the spot to get Willem II promoted to Eredivisie.
Terug naar de Eredivisie te schoppen. Didion Hudel doet het! En zo keert met dank ook aan strafschoppenheld Thomas Didion Hudel Willem II weer terug.
Didion Hudel with the winning PK, and he was asked about it after the match. And basically, he said this. He said, the penalty at training yesterday, I'd scored it too, and I was feeling good. And I thought about my little girl born last week. So football, it's just a game. It's a climb of will, of discipline. We work so hard every day, and the penalty is the cherry on the cake. We weren't aware of it at all, but he put it away calmly. Yeah, so that was the discussion. Didion Hudel was the fifth shooter. And so you end up with the keeper for Willem II, upper 90, and you end up with that penalty being the difference. And so Thomas Didion Hudel, whose value, according to Transfermarkt, by the way, is 675,000 euro. As the fifth penalty taker against FC Volendam, your keeper puts it in the net in the fifth frame to get you promoted to the Eredivisie. So that's kind of what these moments are all about when you have this time of year. You know, Ollie McBurney scoring later than late to get Hull City promoted. You end up with a PK from a keeper from the spot to get a team promoted to the top flight in the Netherlands in the Eredivisie. And then there's also the tournaments that happen after the regular season's over, and you get to try and figure out, okay, well, in this battle of literally David and Goliath, you end up with, in Portugal, the Portuguese Cup final. Literally, it went into match of the day territory. And so Torrense, the second division team in Portugal, is going up against Sporting in the Portuguese Cup final. Torrense, for those of you who may not know, they are from the town of Torres Vedras, 25 miles north of Lisbon, playing a stadium that seats about 2,500. First major trophy in their 109-year history. And so here was that call, courtesy of our friends at Sport TV. Here was how Sport TV in Portugal. Let me see if I could type it correctly. And here was their call on a 112th-minute penalty that got the win for Torrense against Sporting. That's Sporting. So here's that particular PK call that got them into the Europa League. Here's how this one finished up. Once again, courtesy of our friends at Sport TV in Portugal.
Vai bater o Stopira. Tensão no Estádio Nacional. Vai bater o Stopira. Vai partir pé esquerdo do capitão do Torrense. Atira Stopira. Golo! É golo do Torrense. Para os adeptos do emblema de Torres Vedras, o Torrense está na frente da final quando faltam 5-6 minutos para o término.
Está perto de conquistar também o troféu. Stopira dirige-se agora para os adeptos do Torrense, mostra a camisola, o capitão do Torrense.
Sim, o Rui Silva tentou esperar e a bola até vai mais centrada, mas mesmo assim vai à altura da cabeça do Rui Silva e
vai com muita força.
E vai com força também, mas ele aqui mudou um bocadinho as probabilidades, que ele não fez o tal remate cruzado. Vai ver o cartão amarelo porque ele despiu a camisola. Em princípio, vai ver o cartão. Ainda vai entrar o Fayet.
E agora?
Saída de Gonçalo Inácio para a entrada de Fayet.
Mas agora a mensagem tem que ser ultra-atacante, na perspectiva do Rui Borges. É um grande momento para o Torrense, mesmo não sendo definitivo em relação à decisão da final. Mas estes momentos de entusiasmo já ninguém tira ao emblema do Oeste.
To give you an idea, thanks once again to our friends at Sport TV in Portugal for that. To give you an idea about the juice boxes in this one, Sporting was a minus 909 to win. Draw was a 90-minute draw was a plus 800, and Torrense to win outright was a plus 1600. So if you went 90-minute draw, you did well. No, it was not in picks of the week. But minus 909 if you are Sporting, plus 800 on the draw. Kevin Zohe scored in the 4th minute. Torrense had a 1-0 lead until the 54th, and then Luis Javier Suarez scored to tie it at 1. Then you ended up with Stopira scoring in the 113th minute with the penalty. He's one of their center backs. Literally, that is dude's name, Stopira. And he was the highest rated player on the board for them. Zohe was at an 8. Stopira was given an 8.2 according to our friends at SofaScore. So Torrense knocks off Sporting to win the Portuguese Cup to go into Europa League with that win. So you have now Stopira is now tempting me here. I've got to figure out, okay, what is dude's real name? Apparently it's Stopira. Okay, that was not what I hit. Okay, Yannick dos Santos Tavares, Stupida. And so he will be a part. Actually, let me see if he is a part of the Cabo Verde national team, because he is Cabo Verdean by nationality. So, team profile. Let's go to the team profile from our friends at FIFA and see if Stupida is going to be going from the Portuguese Cup and represent his country in Group H with the Bubista. How they qualified, where's their history? No, that doesn't really help me. I need the roster. That's what I need. I need the roster. I don't need the profile. Okay, so the 26-man team, according to our friends at USA Today, according to our friend John Arnold. CJ dos Santos, remember, he was cleared for his one-time switch. Now eligible to play in the World Cup for Cabo Verde. He's going to have to win the starting job from Vojinha, who has been their longtime starting keeper. Steven Moreira is also a part of the back line. Vojinha, Marcio Rosa, and CJ dos Santos. Defenders, Moreira, Wagner Pina, Joao Paulo, Sidney Lopez Cabral, Logan Costa, Pico, Kevin Pires. Stupida is on the roster. Okay, so there we go. That answers our question. And Dine. Jamiro Montero, Telmo Arcanjo, Yannick Semedo, Lauros Duarte, Deroy Duarte from Ludogorets, Razgrad, Kevin Pina from Krasnodar. Your forwards, Ryan Mendez, Willie Semedo, who plays in Greece, Gary Rodriguez from Apollon Limassol, Giovanni Cabral from Amadora, Basak Shahir, Casapia, Akron Toyate, and Maccabi Tel Aviv. So, yes, Stupida is, in fact, on the Cabo Verdean national team roster for the tournament. Yannick dos Santos Tavares, otherwise known as Stupida. He got the game-winning Portuguese Cup-winning penalty, and he's going to be representing his nation, Cabo Verdean national team, with that win. First team in the Portuguese second division to win the competition. Took the early lead. Once again, Maxi Arujo sent off for conceding a penalty, converted by Stupida, and held on to their 1-0 lead. First major title in 109 years. Direct entry into the Europa League phase next season, pushing Benfica into the qualifying rounds. Team returned home at 11 o'clock in the center of Torres Vedras, according to the resident, the PortugalResident.com. According to the resident, turned into a huge street party. Torrense have one final decisive match to play, the Pro Rel playoff Thursday against Casapia. First leg ended in a goalless draw. So it could be a very full week for Torrense. You could be a Portuguese Cup winner, get you into the league phase of Europa, and if you knock off Casapia, then you could end up being promoted into the first division of Portugal. And Stupida, your 37-year-old center back, is going to be there to help you out and possibly have two good things happen to your club within the span of less than a week. So really cool stuff there. So once again, Portuguese Cup final to a team in the second division. 112th, 113th minute PK, depends on when you're looking at the clock. Now to Argentina. Before we go back to Manchester, but in women's soccer. You had in Argentina, you had Belgrano going up against Independiente Rivadavia. And it was a moment that happened once again, later than late. Independiente Rivadavia. So I'm trying to see what the what it was. What happened? What happened was this. So it was. Well, I don't want to know how to watch today's. I want to know what happened last time out. And no, that's not when it was. But okay, fine. So, and I'm trying to go around so I can give you the lowdown of what happened with Belgrano and their matchup with Independiente Rivadavia. And it was not in the LPF. It was not in the Apertura, I don't believe, because it was a cup competition. So list calendar. So here, no. Where are we here? So it was with River, and so why am I getting lost all of a sudden? So Belgrano and Independiente Rivadavia, if I could spell Belgrano correctly, it was a win for Belgrano over Rivadavia. And where's my calendar? So the only thing that was recent was their win over River Plate. Okay, so that's what happened. Nevertheless, okay, so that was okay, bad intel and information. It was not Independiente Rivadavia, it was River Plate, which is a big difference. So you end up with a win for Belgrano. Wow. All right, so here's what happened with Belgrano late with their matchup with River. Jeez, that's a big difference there. So, courtesy of our friends at ESPN Argentina, here's the end of the Belgrano River Plate match from the weekend. Once again, courtesy of our friends at ESPN Argentina. It's definitely worth it.
53. Va Beltrán, Quintero se corrió de córner a córner. Lo va a tirar él. Esta es la última. Final dramático. Va al centro de Quintero. Viene el centro. Lindo centro. Se pasaron todos. Y no hay arquero. Va con la pelota Belgrano. Vázquez tiene gol. Belgrano campeón. Belgrano campeón del fútbol argentino. Belgrano campeón del fútbol argentino. Por primera vez en su historia. Señoras y señores, Belgrano campeón del fútbol argentino por primera vez en su historia, en una final increíble.
And so the way that went down with the 86th minute penalty from, you end up with Nicolas Fernandez scoring in the 85th from the spot and then again in the 88th. You were down 1-0 early. Colidio scored for River Plate in the 18th. Leonardo Morales scores to even it up in the 26th. Second half, Tomas Galvan scored in the 59th. So 30 to go, you're down 2-1. Then Belgrano scores 2 goals in 3 minutes, both by Nicolas Fernandez, one in the 85th from the spot, one in the 88th. So with that win, you end up with Belgrano getting in the Apertura final, champions for Argentina for the first time in 121 years. Belgrano finished 10th in the 2025 Clausura, didn't even reach the end of the season playoffs. And so as you're heading home and as Belgrano is celebrating, to give you an idea how crazy the celebration was, Santiago Longo, one of the midfielders for Belgrano, after they won their title, they had the parade and they're going through town and they're on a bus. Santiago Longo, one of the midfielders for Belgrano, hit his head on an interstate sign as they're making their progression. They're going through traffic, they're celebrating and everything. And Longo was not looking as they were creeping up to an interstate sign. Longo's trying to wave people forward. Hey, everybody, let's go celebrate. Longo is not looking, and he bangs his head on an interstate sign. Videos out there from our friends at Sud Analytics. He was kind of feeling that one for a bit. I don't think he necessarily cared after the fact. But you end up with, in the caravan, somebody not telling Santiago Longo, dude, duck your head. I mean, he clanged it. Literally, he hit it hard. And so you end up with a party in the streets of Cordoba, then it was all over. It was all over the streets of Cordoba. And so it was absolutely crazy. And Yael Falcon Perez, just to give you an idea from our friends at Deportes 24 in Argentina, referee of the match, reported technical director Eduardo Chacho Cudet, and he could receive a 4-match suspension due to serious insults against the referee's authority, and given the precedence of the disciplinary tribunal. Right now, the talk is of 4 matches. So the technical director for River was so mad in the post-match, where they came up a goal short and Belgrano got the win, that the technical director for River was throwing insults at the center ref, and the man in the middle reported him. So it could be a 4-match ban for Chacho Cudet. So it was absolutely nuts. Champions of the Torneo Mercado Libre in 2026, the Pirates getting their championship. And apparently, Lautaro Rivero from River deactivated his Instagram account after the match. He turned it off. So he absolutely turned off his, he spoke out in the defeat, first player to do so, and then he turned his Instagram off. First champion for the first time in 121 years in the history of the first division for an Argentine football, first time ever. And so they had their, they're supposed to have, they were having the caravan tonight, and Santiago Longo smacked his head on an interstate sign. Oh, complacent comparison X, AI viewers. We're not going to have that on Streambo. We're not going to have that anywhere. That's not going to happen. So complacent comparison has been blocked, and they're going to be reported as a bot. So they are a viewer solicitation bot. Solicitation bot. All right, so that's done. Report's been submitted and closed, and there we go. Okay, so complacent comparison X, you've been reported. Last Argentine title for River was in 2023. For Boca, it was in 2022. It was Belgrano winning the Apertura. Rivadavia won the Copa. Estudiantes won the Clausura in 25. Platense won the Apertura. Central Cordoba in 24 won the Copa. So this is all the things. First time in 121 years for Belgrano. Congratulations to them. Okay, I'm trying to look at my rundown here. Other news. Yeah, Manchester City on the women's side. Bunny Shaw was initially thought that she was going to leave Manchester City's women's side, and I could guarantee you that there were going to be a lot of teams here in the States that were going to be keeping an eye on it, considering the money that was invested in Kat Macario for her to come home to be with San Diego. No report yet on when she will start for San Diego Wave. But Manchester City has done it about face, and now Bunny Shaw is going to become the highest paid women's footballer. She had been expected to sign for Chelsea, but then Manchester City was like, not so fast, my friend. Actually, do I have a pencil? Not handy. Not so fast, my friend. So Tom Gary at The Guardian reporting, 4-year contract at Manchester City, making her by far the world's highest paid women's footballer, set to receive significantly more than £1 million a year per season until 2030, according to multiple sources who told Gary. Manchester City made a last-gasp intervention to exceed the offer Shaw had received from Chelsea, WSL's Golden Boot winner for a third straight year. 21 in 22 appearances. Widely considered to be the best striker in the world on current form, future's been in doubt as her existing deal was expiring this summer. Indicated to Manchester City earlier in May she'd decided to leave. She'd been set to say goodbye to the club she joined in 21. City had not matched rival clubs' offers. However, over the past 48 hours, discussions between the WSL champs and Shaw have made rapid progress, according to Gary. Signed her new deal Monday morning before announcing it during their trophy parade Monday night, local time. She'd always told Manchester City that her preference was to stay, kept calling that, would always refer to the place as home, and in March, close to agreeing to terms. Teresa Sugran, the director of football, quoted, "It's a huge statement from City that we've secured the services of one of the best center forwards in the world, but also from Bunny that she believes we're the best place for her to succeed." Now, Chelsea needs to sign a top-level striker. Once again, Sam Kerr's leaving this summer. There's talk that she may end up in Denver. That came from Australian sources, by the way, a couple months ago. So we'll see what happens there. And you'll remember that Sam Kerr posted that was not happening at the time on her social media when it was reported by Australian news organizations. So the first half of the equation's done. But now where does Sam Kerr go? Like I said, the talk is Denver maybe, but nothing to back that up. So that's the big news out of the WSL, that Bunny Shaw is going to be staying at home in Manchester City with their team, and it is going to be her going forward. She's going to stay at Manchester City. So it was a lot of folks were shocked, but she's staying at Manchester City. Did you see, by the way, a limited 20-pound banknote in Scotland features Scott McTominay's overhead kick? Ever since he got to Napoli, he's been living the life. The McTominay overhead kick, created to celebrate Scotland's return to the World Cup. Fans get a chance to win 50 of the 100 notes in coming weeks. It's the World Cup qualifying goal for Scotland against Denmark back last November. And so that kick is now on the 20-pound note. Online auction, 50 notes up for grabs through a mix of collector auctions and a prize draw, with the proceeds supporting Crisis Scotland. Online auction live runs till 11 a.m. Friday the 26th of June. Fan can enter the prize draw until 11 a.m. that day. So you want the 20-pound note? Dive into the auction. Phil Neville's out in Portland this afternoon. He admitted that results did not match expectations. They're 13th in the West. And classy, as always, Phil Neville thanked the fans and everyone associated with the organization. 3-1 loss to San Jose. They're 13th in the West. Made the playoffs in his first 2 years in 24 and 25. Lost in the opening round and the first round. Then he admitted he had not taken the team as far as he would have liked. Thanked the organization. Thanked the staff. Thanked the players. Thanked the Timbers Army. So class all the way around. Remember, that's his second coaching job in Major League Soccer. He was in charge with Messi and friends from 21 to 23. He left before Messi arrived. He also was in charge of the women's team in England, leading them to the semis of the 2019 World Cup. So maybe Neville takes a bit of a break, catches his breath a little bit, even though we know that it's in his DNA to be a coach. So and keep an eye on the future of Phil Neville and what that's going to be like. So we'll see what the latest is with him going forward. Transfer news. Juve, once again, they made a move for Andy Robertson in an attempt to rival Spurs' interest, according to Sky Italia. They've registered interest in signing the soon-to-be free agent. His deal at Liverpool expires next month. Sky's already reported Spurs ready to sign him. They've stayed up, targeting him for a fee in January. Sky Italy reports Spurs remain in the pole position, but they are reporting Juve want to sign another Liverpool player, the keeper Alisson, but he looks set to remain at Anfield as things currently stand. Josh Kroenke has revealed that his club, Arsenal, begun talks about how they retain their trophy in the transfer market. He and his father Stan were there to present the trophy to players at Crystal Palace. Josh told NBC business never stops. Trying to strengthen already. We need to be aware of that. Already had a few conversations about it, about different areas we think we can improve both on and off the pitch. So we'll keep an eye on that. Benfica's top target from Sky Sports News, Vic Varane, Lyle Thomas, James Cole, Gary Cotterill. It's Marco Silva. Nothing agreed to yet, but they really do want him. As Jose Mourinho is ready to be appointed at the Bernabeu, but you got to keep an eye on the presidential election there for Real Madrid. If, in fact, Mourinho does go, Silva is the number one. And he does expect, however, to have discussions with Fulham about his future. Contract expires next month. Alisson is set to stay at Liverpool, by the way. Arne Slot is going to get a new coaching staff member. Etienne Reinen expected to join the backroom staff. Slot's assistant at Feyenoord. He wanted to bring him along in 24, but the club couldn't get a work permit, but now he can. We mentioned Bunny Shaw. Christian Romero has taken to Instagram to summarize the season. At Spurs, quote, "It wasn't an easy one, season full of challenges, difficult moments, times where things didn't go the way we wanted. Suffered a lot, didn't enjoy it as much as we expected, but we finished it in the best possible way." AC Milan are also now planning on approaching, according to Mark Adam at Sky, Andoni Iraola. So he is a wanted commodity by a bunch of different folks. Rossoneri failed to qualify for the Champions League for the second straight year. They lost to Cagliari, saw them go from third to fifth in the Serie A table. Como now number 4. And then we talked about them blowing everybody out, but now Andoni Iraola is on their to-get list. Captain Graham Shinnie's leaving Aberdeen next month upon the expiry of his contract. 34 years old, 344 appearances. First Don's captain in 35 years to lift the Scottish Cup back in last May. Offered a 2-year contract extension. Deal would have included what the club say, quote, "a meaningful pathway into coaching and wider non-playing responsibilities," which would have triggered a testimonial season. Opted to depart and remains in advanced talks with Inverness Caledonian Thistle. 6 years at Inverness, won the Scottish Cup in 2015 before joining Aberdeen. Lewis Miley, new 6-year deal at Newcastle, 20-year-old academy graduate, committed his future there until 2032. So that is the news and notes that have happened while we were disappeared. And I'm sitting here trying to see if I've missed anything in the English theater. And St. Mirren are retaining their premiership status. A volley downs Partick Thistle. Marcus Frazier, a set piece 20 minutes into the second half. 8-year stay in the top flight now turns into 9 for St. Mirren. Thistle have failed in 5 promotion attempts. So, St. Mirren, you can stay. St. Mirren, you can stay up. ICT, however, you cannot. Let's see. We mentioned the £150 million fire sale for West Ham. Let's see. Mentioned Bunny Shaw. Mentioned the end of the season. Let's see. And I'm trying to see if I've missed anything else in England. Let's see. Sophie Whitehouse saved 4 penalties to seal Charlton Athletics' return to the WSL. So, definite performance of the day yesterday goes to the WSL 2's Charlton Athletics, Sophie Whitehouse. I think we might be caught up in the everything going on around the world. I think we are. I think we're close anyway. So I'm trying to see if I've missed anything one way or the other. I think we're good. I think we are. Each of the clubs now have officially named/found their training locations. So those are all good to go. So your World Cup training locations, and the one that was decided was you now have the team-based campsites. They've all been named. And so here's where everything is lined up for the 48 teams as they come. Algeria is at the University of Kansas in Kansas City, so UMKC. Argentina is at the Sporting Kansas City Training Center. Australia is at the Oakland Roots and Soul Training Facility in the Bay. Austria is at UC Santa Barbara and Harder Stadium. Belgium is at Providence and Swedish in Seattle, in Renton, Washington. Bosnia-Herzegovina, by the way, I like the white jersey for Bosnia-Herzegovina. They're going to be at the Riot in Sandy, Utah. Brazil, Columbia Park in New York, New Jersey, Red Bulls. Canada is going to be at their National Soccer Development Center in Vancouver. Cote d'Ivoire is going to be at the Philadelphia Union facilities in Chester. DR Congo is going to be at the Dynamo Training Center in Houston. Colombia, Academia Atlas FC. They're going to be at Atlas's Academy in Guadalajara. Cabo Verde, the Water Sportsplex in Tampa. Croatia is going to be at Episcopal High in Alexandria, Virginia, suburban Washington, D.C. Curacao is going to be at FAU. Czechia is going to be in Mansfield, Texas, suburban Dallas. Ecuador is going to be at the Crew Performance Center. Egypt at Gonzaga. England is going to be at Swope Soccer Village in Kansas City. Spain's going to be at the Baylor School in Chattanooga. We're going to try and be at the open practice on June the 6th. France is going to be at Bentley University in Boston. Germany is going to be at Wake Forest. Ghana is going to be at Bryant University in suburban Boston, Providence. Haiti is going to be at Stockton University in New York, New Jersey, in the tri-state. Iran was the big question. They're moving from the University of Arizona in Tucson they're going to be moving to Tijuana, and they're going to be at Xolos's training facility. Make it easier for them, and they can take Iran Air up and down the coast. And they can fly. I think it's a 45-minute flight from Tijuana to Los Angeles. So that was decided over the weekend that they are going from, and it was okayed by FIFA, to where you're going to have Iran going from Tucson to Tijuana. So that was okayed, and so that's now official. Iraq is going to be at the Greenbrier Sports Performance Center. Jordan at the University of Portland in Oregon. Japan's going to be at Nashville SC's training facilities. The Korea Republic's going to be at Chivas's Verde Valle in Guadalajara. Saudi Arabia is going to be at Q2 in Austin. Morocco, the Pingree School in the Tri-State. Mexico at the Centro de Alto Rendimiento in Mexico City. The Netherlands at Kansas City Currents at CPKC Stadium. Norway's going to be at UNC Greensboro. New Zealand at the University of San Diego. Panama at Natawasaga's training site in Newcomseth. Paraguay is going to be at the Spartan Soccer Complex at San Jose State. Portugal, Palm Beach Gardens at Gardens North District Park. Qatar's in Santa Barbara at Westmont College. South Africa is going to be at Pachuca. Scotland at Charlotte FC. Senegal's at Rutgers. Switzerland is going to be in San Diego. And Sweden is going to be at FC Dallas. Tunisia is going to be at Rayados in Monterrey. Turkey is going to be in Mesa, Arizona, at the Arizona Athletic Grounds. Uruguay is going to be at Mayakoba in Cancun. The U.S. is going to be at the Great Sports Park in Irvine. And Uzbekistan is going to be here in Atlanta at the Atlanta United Training Center. So that is the rundown of all of the 48 base camps. And that's where you're going to kind of keep an eye on everybody. You keep an eye on everyone and find out what it's going to be like to be ready for the world to come in 16 days. 16 days is when all this kicks off. So 16 days, and we're all chasing after the 48 teams that are going to be trying to get into and hoist the trophy. I still have that Daniel Passarella picture in my head from when I was a kid getting Sports Illustrated. Daniel Passarella holding the World Cup trophy. I've always stuck with that. So that is where we are. All right, 9 o'clock. We know what that means. It means one thing, and one thing in particular, kick in the horn section for hour number 2. Okay, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, and let me know if I'm anywhere close here, that we turn the World Cup tournament thing into a sprint season. I was debating it. I was debating this idea. So we've got 2 weeks to decide, because we have this week and next week, I believe, if my memory is correct. So OG is apparently seconding. So what I will do, OG, if you would not mind posting that thought in the Discord for everyone who is associated with Picks of the Week. If you wanted to do, like I said, I will present it as an option. It will be one of two things. It can be a sprint season. So we would have this week and next week, I believe. And then that freezes who's 1, 2, 3, whatever, and we do that. Then the World Cup itself is a sprint season. Then we have the third season, basically. And then we go to December 1st and then have something akin to a Campeón de Campeones in and around MLS Cup. And it would be 8 selections involving MLS Cup with a tiebreaker for the Campeón de Campeones. And I'm just thinking this out right now in my head. So if you would, OG, post in the Discord this theory. And if anybody wants to be a part of Picks of the Week going forward and you're not in the Discord, let us know in the comments, and hopefully those who are in charge of the Discord and have better command of it than I do can find out ways, if you're not in, to let you into the Discord for all of our conversations that we have on all the bunch of topics that our Twitch Pitch community and all of our listeners and friends and OGs and plus ones, they have on various topics. So the theory is season 1 ends at World Cup. Motion to the floor is sprint season. Then season 3 is regular season to the end. And then your 3 champions of season 1, the sprint season, and season 3 go into a Campeón de Campeones at MLS Cup evening 4 card. And then the Campeón de Campeones is decided with 8 questions or 8 juice box ideas in and around MLS Cup with a tiebreaker attached. And then your Campeón de Campeones, and then you get plaudits and Serpentina and the whole thing. So that is my theory. So that is my theory, and I will post it to... I will post it. I would, OG, if you could post it to the Discord and have that as a theory. So we have basically a week and a half to figure it out. But motion to the floor. Season 1 ends at World Cup. World Cup is a sprint season. Season 3 is after World Cup 2, MLS Cup. MLS Cup is the Campeón de Campeones. 8 separate categories or questions attached to MLS Cup and a tiebreaker determines Campeón de Campeones. Something like the Giorgio mug. Yeah, something like that. And then you get your Daniel Passarella World Cup moment, something. So we'll figure that out. So that is my motion to the floor. to determine Campeón de Campeones for 2026, because then we have to rest up because you have the sprint season coming up in 27, which would be its own tournament. And then you have the regular tournament for Major League Soccer in 27 leading into 28. So you have three different tournaments this year, ending in MLS Cup. Yeah, first season's going 2 more weeks. First week of World Cup selections is the sprint season. World Cup inclusive, parenthetically closed. So you're going to end up with, and SOT may end up taking a break during the World Cup just because of the chaos that's attached, but we will continue picks of the week. So I may do something remotely that is, something that's attached to social media or something like that to let you know what's going on. So, rules of engagement going forward. Motion to the floor. 2 more weeks of season 1. Sprint season, World Cup. Season 3, after World Cup to MLS Cup. MLS Cup, you take your 3 champions. Champion of this one, champion of the sprint, champion of season 3, section 3. You go to Campeón de Campeones, MLS Cup. With those 3, you get a Campeón de Campeones and you get a high and hearty handshake. Okay, well, then there you go. So how about this? Chime in on the, there we go. Do that. So do that. So it's going to be this. So chime in, Picks of the Week channel on the Discord. There you go. Do that. That's a lot better. So Picks of the Week Discord. So we're stopping the segment. So Picks of the Week channel in the Discord. Yes. So spring season during World Cup is in the Discord. You can file it in the Picks of the Week channel if you want. So that way you're not having to, yeah. So, all right. So in the Discord, post this conversation in the Picks of the Week channel. And when I put in the picks for this week, then we'll have that as a discussion. So 4Card has seconded. OG is firsted. But we'll put it in for everybody. And then if there's anybody that has not been in the Discord and has not been in Picks of the Week that wants to get into Picks of the Week, then they can. So 2 more weeks of segment 1. Sprint season, World Cup inclusive. Segment 3, post-World Cup, MLS Cup, Campeón de Campeones, MLS Cup. Then you take a break, and then we come back, sprint season. You have to take your picture with whatever high and hearty handshake device you're given with Serpentina that's attached. That has to be a picture. Goes onto the Wall of Fame in the Discord. And then you take a break for Christmas and New Year's, and then we come back for Picks of the Week in 27 during the sprint season. So that's the plan. So that's the plan for Picks of the Week this year. And like I said, because we're going to be in chaos in World Cup coverage, like I said, I may post stuff to social just to let everybody know about Picks of the Week, but SOT may take a break during the World Cup because we're going to be all over the place. I mean, I could give you my calendar. I could show you what the calendar looks like just for the month of June, but it's already crazy, and I probably had to rewrite it like 3 separate times. So when I post this week's selections in the Discord, and I promise I won't do it after like 1 or 2 of the matches have already happened, I'll post this thought in there, but know that OG and 4Card have already approved this going forward. So that's where we are. So, and what we might do this. Now, I've got another theory. So, but what I'll do is I will suggest that the 3 overall winners go to Campeón de Campeones for MLS Cup, and then that decides your Campeón de Campeones for 26. So that's where we are. Okay, last week. Second period coming up, Carolina leading Montreal in Montreal 2-1. Last week, we started in Ligue 1 in Algeria. It was USM Alger and Olympique Akbou. I said it was going to be a draw to plus 190 because I really didn't have a clue. And as it turned out, USM Alger won 1-0, so it was a loss for me. Open Cup. St. Louis and Houston went to PKs. Ben Lunt came up big for St. Louis, but that also means 90-minute draw. And so I got that one at a plus 254. Third one was the Egyptian relegation group in the Premier League, Modern Sport and Ghazi El Mahala. I thought that Modern Sport, just because they came into everything as Coca-Cola FC alone, would be the reason to vote for them. And no, they laid an egg. It was a draw, goalless draw. So I didn't get that one. Fourth one, Iceland. Their top flight, the Besta Dild Karla, Breiðablik and KR Reykjavik. I had, and 4-card, nicely done. Breiðablik and KR Reykjavik. I thought it was going to be KR Reykjavik at a plus 129. They got boat raced by Breiðablik at Breiðablik 6-3. So that's the most goals I think I've seen in quite some time in any matchup in Picks of the Week. So I didn't get that one. So I was 1-3 after the first 4. Fifth one was the Polish League. The Polish League was number 5. Pogoń Szczecin and GKS Katowice. And because both teams kind of needed to keep their place, I didn't think it was going to be that adventurous a matchup. It wasn't. It was a 1-1 draw to plus 260, and I got that one. 6, MLS Portland and San Jose, which would end up being the end of Phil Neville. San Jose was an easy pick as a dog on the road on a Monday night, and San Jose would win that one 3-1, so I got that one. 7 was in the Tajikistan top flight. FC Kujand and Vaksh. Since we didn't have any odds at the time, considering it was a Sunday game and we were picking it on Monday night, everything was plus 100. I said it was going to be a draw, or I said it was going to be FC Kujand, and it ended up being a goalless draw. And then the last one was West Ham and Leeds, and West Ham was favored at home. They won at a plus 114, and I got that one. So I literally won. I was 4-4. I was 4-4. 4-card, by the way. Went with mostly my picks in West Ham and got 5 right. Well, I was 4-4, so I wasn't too far behind you. But I ended up, if my math is right, at a plus 378. The tiebreaker was the European Conference League and Europa League places in the Premier League. And that ended up as League 2. I don't want League 2. So that ended up as a grouping that I did not anticipate. I did not anticipate Sunderland making the run that they did. And it was Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton. Brentford finished with 53 points behind Brighton on goal difference. And Chelsea was at 52. They were well ahead of Fulham on goal difference. So that was your top 11. But tiebreaker, Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton. 57, 54, 53. I had Bournemouth, Brighton, Chelsea. I did not have Sunderland making it out of lane 8 with their win, finishing with 2 wins in a row. So that was your tiebreaker. But yeah, I ended up with like a plus 378. Highest number that I've had in quite some time. 4-card went with draws. You went draws and West Ham, and you won 5 of them. Yeah, because Algeria was a draw. Open Cup was a draw. Egypt was a draw. Let's see. Well, and the Tajikistan was a draw, and Poland was a draw. So there's your 5. And then West Ham was a win, so that was 6. So, yeah, so I went my way and got 4 out of 4, and 4-card did me one better. 4-card did me one better going my old school way. All right, so that takes this one. Add your numbers, throw them in the pile. 2 more weeks of segment 1. So let's see what kind of trouble we can get into here this week, because it's going to be like championships and cups and things like that. Maybe even some USL championship. Kaylor Hodge is joining us tomorrow morning on the show, by the way, to break down everything going on in the USL and USL championship and League One and Spokane and all the places. So that is that's the rundown as it looks. 7, 4, 8 tiebreaker. So, all right. So there we go. So let me go and let me see if I can find some activity here. So if today is the 25th, that means that Tuesday's the 26th, Wednesday's the 27th, Thursday's the 28th, Friday's the 29th, Saturday's the 30th. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest, 30 days has September, April. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. So Sunday's the 31st. And there we go. Okay. So Saturday night, there's some interesting ones here. So am I that motivated yet? No, I'm not that motivated, but I like that one. Okay. So I'll work backward. And so I'll go here. That's an easy one. So it's an easy one because of the competition that's attached. I like this one. So we'll keep that one. So that's 8. If I could write down the numbers correctly. Okay, 2-1 started the second period with Carolina. All right, so now let's look up what we can find. Okay, so Paderborn beat Wolfsburg in more than 90 minutes. So Paderborn won 2-1. And, oh, yeah, we got to do that one. So, all right, so we have to go there. And so that we have to do. So that one is mandatory because it is the matchup that it is. So this one is going to be pretty easy when you think about it, that it has to be in the grid. All right, so that one got picked up. All right, so now that we've had that one picked up, big Sunday, and okay, so that would be in that. That would be in that one. Do we have? Ooh, okay. So if we go here, and a lot of these are ending up on Saturday just because you're out of cup competitions and things that that you're ending up with just a lot of weekend stuff. You're not having like group stages or anything like that. And okay. And once again, I mean, when you think about it, having some old friends. Wow. Okay. So, all right, I've got 3, and they're all on Saturday at the moment. So Saturday is looking like a busy day off the top. And I'm trying to see if we can go places that we haven't been. Ooh, and we'll go there. That'll be a good lead off. Okay. And gives us a chance to learn. Okay, and since this one is tomorrow, we'll go ahead and we'll throw this one in as number 1. So the first place we're going to visit is Armenia. 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Eastern Time. Ararat Yerevan and BKMA. I have no idea what BKMA is, and we're going to learn. Ararat Yerevan is a plus 140. Draws a plus 225. And whatever BKMA is a plus 179. So Armenian Premier League tomorrow, standings, Ararat Yerevan is dead last. Through 26 match weeks, Ararat Yerevan is dead last. They are at 12 points, 3-3-20, and they are favored against BKMA. BKMA is in 7th. They are 10 points above, but they've only won one more match. They have a slightly better offense and a better defense. But BKMA has lost 2 in a row. Ararat Yerevan has lost 3 of 4. It's at Ararat Yerevan. Ararat Yerevan is a plus 140. Draws a plus 225. BKMA, who we're going to find out about, is a plus 179. FC BKMA Yerevan. Banaki Kentronakan Marzakan Akum Yerevan, Central Sport Club of the Army Yerevan. Kind of a cool logo, by the way. Central Sport Club of the Army Yerevan. Now, let's find out about BKMA. Their stadium seats 1,420. The owner is the Ministry of Defense of Armenia. So literally, they are a military club. During the days of Soviet rule in Armenia, the Central Sport Club of the Army, Yerevan, was founded in 1947, commonly known by its Russian abbreviation CSKA Yerevan, CSKA Yerevan. After Armenian independence, the BKMA made their professional debut in domestic football comps in the first league in 94, where they finished 3rd. Then they were folded halfway through the 97 season. All their remaining matches awarded 3-0 to opponents, resulting in the 12th and last position relegation. Club has been inactive ever since. But then in 2019, BKMA was revived by the efforts of the defense minister of Armenia, David Tonoyan. The club was revived with the goal of helping young Armenian players develop their football skills during military service, in particular those serving mandatory military service. Head coach of the team is Rafael Nazaryan, assisted by Varazdat Avetisyan. Played their first season in the Armenian First League in 1920, promoted. Since promotion, they've never been relegated, though partially due to other teams folding, according to our friends at the Wikipedias. A reserve team, BKMA 2, founded in 2021, the same year BKMA was promoted, and BKMA won the Armenian First League, but were not promoted because, you know, in other countries where you have second clubs and first things like that, you don't have two of the same club, first team and second team, playing in the promoted divisions. So BKMA is going to stay in the Armenian First League until further notice. So basically, you have a lot of Armenian soldiers who are playing for this club that is run by the defense minister of Armenia. It is the Ministry of Defense of Armenia is the owner of the club. And so since they are slightly better than Ararat Yerevan and they are military based, I'm not going to mess with this. I'm not going to mess with this. I'm going to go with BK. I'm going to go with a draw, actually. BKMA is an underdog, but I don't think they're going to lose. I don't think that's going to be allowed for the military to lose in this situation. So I'm going to go and only show you the logo for FC BKMA Yerevan. And this is actually a pretty cool logo when you think about it. That's a very cool logo. So that is BKMA Yerevan's logo. Thanks to our friends at the Wikipedia. It's very, very cool. Now they need to market it. So well done by them. And it is BKMA. Never mess with the defense ministry. So I'm not going to mess with the defense ministry. But I don't think they're going to win because they're on the road. So I think it's going to be a draw. So that is matchup number 1. And I don't know why folks are deciding that they want to run fireworks right now. I have no idea why. And it's kind of tiresome. So looking at other countries, we'll see if we can come up with something that is happening fairly soon. We might have to go once again with a lot of different competitions. So, okay. Well, actually, we'll go here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening on Saturday and Sunday. Like I said, just because of it being what it is. So let's say that is then, and might be the last matchup of the weekend. So what league is this? Okay, so that one is in the books. That might be the last one of the. Like I said, this one might be the last one of the weekend. And it features a team in trouble that we have been discussing. No, not Botafogo, but nevertheless, another team in trouble. So I've got 3 for Saturday. I've got 1 for Sunday, and I have 3 more slots that I have to fill. But that first one is locked in with the Armenian Premier League. I cannot remember the last time we were in the Armenian Premier League. Let's see. Can we go? Yeah, actually we can. All right. So and that one is then and there. All right. So Friday, this is match number 2 that I've picked up. So I'll regroup and put them in order here in a bit. 7:35 a.m. Eastern Time. And remember, the Chinese Super League has all of the teams that had the points deductions at the beginning of the year. So the points deductions and current point totals may not accurately reflect level of play. So Chinese Super League, 7:35 in the morning on Friday. Liaoning Tianren hosting Shanghai Port. Liaoning Tianren hosting Shanghai Port. Liaoning Tianren plus 140, draws a plus 265, Shanghai Port a plus 165. Your standings, once again, this is with the points deductions that have been added in. It is Liaoning Tianren was one of the teams that was not penalized at the beginning of the year. So after match week 14, 4 wins, 14 points. They've won 2 in a row. They're unbeaten in their last 3. Shanghai Port did have a points deduction to start. Their points deduction was 5. So in theory, they should be at 17 points, but they're at 12. 4, 5, and 5. They've drawn for their last 5. And they're in 12th. 2 points behind Liaoning Tianren, who have 4 wins and 14 points and are unbeaten in 3 in a row. Shanghai Port, 12 points, really should be 17, but they're unbeaten in their last 5, but 4 of those are draws. Shanghai Port on the road at Liaoning Tianren. Liaoning Tianren is favored. They don't really have an offense. Defense is okay. Shanghai Port has a better offense than they do defense. So they're at plus 3 in goal difference. And they're on the road. And I'm not even going to think this one through. Just because of everything that's been going on with Shanghai Port recently, I'm just going to say draw. I mean, when you've drawn 4 or 5 and you're where you are, Shanghai Port plus 165, draws a plus 265, and Liaoning Tianren is a plus 140. I'm going draw. So we need 2 more matchups, and we need we need a tiebreaker of some description. Faroe Islands do not give you juice boxes, which is disappointing. And let's see, can we go here? We could. Do we have a matchup worth anything? Yes. Okay. So once again, Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern time, we go to the Finland Veikkausliiga, top flight in Finland. The Finland Veikkausliiga, and we're going to go with Lahti. I don't know if Christine owns them or not, and Ilves. Lahti and Ilves in the Finnish Veikkausliiga, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Lahti is a plus 150. Draws a plus 240. Ilves is a plus 165. So your standings. It is the relegation half, so they believe in the dreaded split. And this is the beginnings of it appears. Through 9 matches, Ilves is 2-3-4. They are 9 points. They've hit each column once in their last 3. Lahti, through 8 match weeks, is 2-2-4. They have 2 points in their last 4 matches. They've lost 2 and they've drawn 2. They drew their previous 2 before losing last time out. So through 8 matches, they've scored 7. They're at home hosting Ilves, who has a better offense and a worse defense. So all of this is screaming draw to me too. Ilves and Lahti. Ilves at Lahti. Lahti a plus 150. Draws a plus 240. And Ilves is a plus 165. So we will go Saturday morning, 10 a.m., May 30, with a draw with Lahti and Ilves. So I'm going on the 4-card plan here. I'm going on the 4-card plan. I have 3 draws out of the blocks. So now we need a 4th matchup. And when was the last time we went here? That would be why. Okay. Do we have anything in Central America? We have anything in Central America? Those matchups have been played. You're not helping matters, people. You're really not helping matters. You're not helping. Not helping. Because like I said, I've got my other 4 matchups selected, and this is where we'll learn a little bit too while we're thinking about it. Okay. Oh, okay, how about here? Let's see if we can do something here. We can. And it would be very, very early on Saturday morning because it would be halfway around the world, or it would be, let's see, not appealing. All right, so much for that idea. It was a thought. We have anything here? Yeah, but then that would be like first thing in the morning, and I don't know if we want to go there or not. About here. Nope, too much of a margin. North and Central America. Nope. What about here? We haven't been here in a while. And that would be why, because the margins are huge. Okay. Would this work? And we don't have juice boxes for that one. This is disappointing, people. You're not helping the man out. You're not helping the man out. Lower divisions in Australia don't have juice boxes. You're not helping. You're not helping. This is not nice. Oh, okay. What about here? Okay. Yeah, we can do that. All right. So this next pick, and like I said, I'll put all these in order when we're done. Friday morning or Friday afternoon, our time, 1 o'clock, Norway's Eliteserien, First Division Norway. And this is where we learn. KFUM Oslo and Tromsø. KFUM Oslo and Tromsø. It's at KFUM Oslo. KFUM Oslo is plus 185. Draws a plus 240. Tromsø is a plus 138. Standings in the Eliteserien. Tromsø is second in the table, 24 points. They've hit each column once in their last 3. 24 points, goal difference of plus 4. They've scored 18 in 12 matches. They've given up 14. Then Tromsø is on the road at KFUM Oslo. KFUM Oslo is 3-2-5. They are in 10th place on goal difference. And goals scored puts them ahead of Kristiansund. They won their last match to snap a 3-game winless streak. So it is 10th place KFUM Oslo at 11 points, hosting second place Tromsø in the table, who is at 24 points. Tromsø, once again, plus 138. Draws a plus 240. KFUM Oslo is a plus 185. So what about this KFUM Oslo? Let's find out. What is with KFUM Oslo? KFUM Komeditin Oslo, nicknamed Kaffa, is the sports branch of the local YMCA in Oslo, Norway. Departments for association football, futsal, volleyball, and track and field. They've been in the top tier after being promoted since First Division in 23. Club was founded on New Year's Day 1939. Traditional base are in downtown Oslo. They play their matches at KFUM Arena, located at Ekebergsletta. Seats 3,300. Last season, they were 12th out of 16. And they started back so New Year's Day 1939, the sports branch of the local YMCA in Oslo, Norway, created KFUM Komeditin Oslo. KFUM Oslo is exactly that. It's not having anything to do with radio or anything like that. Made history for being promoted for the first time ever in club history in 2023. So they were in the third division, promoted after the 2008 season. In the second division, promoted to the first division in 2015. First division finished 15th, got relegated. Stayed in the second division for 2 more years. Came back up in the first division, promoted again in 2023, and they've been in the Eliteserien for this is their 3rd year. They do have a Somali forward in Bilal Njai, a Polish keeper, a Philippine-born or Philippine national in Bjorn Martin Davis Christiansen. Born in Norway, represents the Philippines national team. But most of the rest of the team is Norwegian. So you have a Gambian midfielder in Mansour Sinyan, Bilal Njai from Somalia, keeper Krzysztof Bajkowski, and he's from Poland, and Philippines representing Bjorn Martin Christensen, who was born in Norway. So basically it's the Y going up against Tromsø. And I'm going with Tromsø here. That's as much as you love the YMCA, I don't know if you can really go with the YMCA going up against a heavyweight like Tromsø. Now the other 4. And it is Saturday, Sunday. Okay. So Saturday at noon, it's the Champions League final. PSG and Arsenal. PSG is a plus 135, draws a plus 229, and Arsenal's a plus 210. I don't think Arsenal is going to have recovered from their hangover. I'm going with PSG. Then later in the day, 2:30, Argentina's Primera Nacional. And I wish I'd known that these guys were on the clock. I would have brought my jersey down. The Primera Nacional for match number 6. Almirante Brown and Colón Santa Fe. And we have to tell the story of Almirante Brown. We have to tell the story. Club Almirante Brown, headquartered in San Justo, La Matanza Partido district in Greater Buenos Aires. Mostly known for the football team currently playing in the Primera B. Football stadium names Frigate President Sarmiento. They also have a Women's Association football section. Founded in July 1st, 1912, Club Atlético Almirante Brown. Club uniform kit acquired by the club were striped black and yellow, worn by Uruguayan CURCC, the predecessor of Peñarol, only available in stores. 1915 changed their name to Almirante Brown Athletic Club. Later affiliated with the AFA, took part in the Tercera in 1916. Club would be inactive since 1919. 1921, 4 dissident members of the neighbor club, Huracán de San Justo, met with some former members of Almirante Brown, reestablished the club in 1922. Centro Atlético Almirante Brown. And they would play various divisions, they'd get promoted. Restructuring of the lower divisions in 86 meant that Primera B became the second division. Most of the players are Argentine with the exception of one keeper, Manuel Peralta, who is Paraguayan. But you've got to know who Almirante Brown is. Almirante Brown, for those of you that do not know, I have to get this story correct. So Almirante Brown, not the club, but the dude. You have to know about William Brown, Guillermo Brown, or Almirante Brown. 1777 to 1857. Irish sailor, merchant, and naval commander, served in the Argentine Navy during the wars of the early 19th century. Successes in the Argentine War of Independence, the Cisplatin War, and the Anglo-French blockade of the Rio de la Plata earned him the respect and appreciation of the Argentine people, regarded as one of Argentina's national heroes. Creator and first admiral of the country's maritime forces, commonly known as the father of the Argentine Navy. Born in Ireland in 1777. Immigrated with his father to Baltimore. Probably went to Philly. They had a friend who invited them and offered him food and hospitality and died of yellow fever. Several days later, William's dad also succumbed to the same disease, so he's 16 years old when all this happens. One morning, wandering the banks of the Delaware River, met the captain of a ship then moored in port. Inquired if he wanted employment, and Brown agreed. Captain then agreed and engaged him as a cabin boy, setting him on the naval promotion ladder, worked his way to the captaincy of a merchant vessel. Comparatively little is known about Brown's early life. Suggests that he was illegitimate and took his mother's surname, and his father's surname actually was Gannon. 10 years at sea, reached the rank of captain, impressed upon a Royal Navy warship. During the Napoleonic Wars, Brown is said to have escaped the ship he was serving on. However, the French did not believe he was a defector and imprisoned him in Lorient. Transferred to Metz, escaped disguised in a French officer's uniform. Recaptured, imprisoned in Verdun. 1809, escaped from there in the company of a British officer named Clutchwell and eventually reached German territory. Returning to England, renounced his maritime career. 1809, married Elizabeth Chitty in Kent. Raised their sons as Catholics, daughters as Protestants, considering he was Catholic and she was Protestant. He left the same year for the Rio de la Plata on board Belmond and set himself up as a merchant in Montevideo, Uruguay. Became part owner of a ship called Eliza, trading between Montevideo and Buenos Aires. When the Eliza met with disaster and ran aground, Brown carried his cargo inland, disposed of it profitably, next crossed the Andes into Chile, could purchase a schooner. Then he opened a regular sailing packet service between Uruguay and Argentina, the first such venture in South America. Then the Spanish colonial government stepped in, sensing a threat to its mercantile interests. Spanish ships destroyed Brown's schooner and took drastic steps to nullify Argentina's attempts to defend its coast against Spanish raiders. As a result of the incident, Argentina resolved to provide ships to protect her coasts and trade, with Brown being commissioned as a lieutenant colonel at the service of the Navy and appointed commander-in-chief of the Argentine fleet. Followed the challenge of Benjamin Franklin Severs, Sievers was American-born. Following the Embargo Act of 1807, he became Canadian to avoid double taxation. And so literally, you have someone who is regarded as an admiral in the Argentine Navy, buried in the La Recoleta Cemetery, was active in the Napoleonic Wars, the Argentine War of Independence, the Cisplatin War, the Argentine Civil Wars, and was born in Foxford County, Mayo, Ireland, and spent time in the United States. That is barely scratching the surface of Almirante Brown. But that is how Almirante Brown became part of the fabric of SDH. Almirante Brown and Colón Santa Fe, both of them are at plus 165. And the draw between these two is even worse at a plus 160. Standings in the Primera B, by the way, or in the Primera Nacional. Just so you have them. Colón de Santa Fe, 6-6-2 after 14 match weeks. They're unbeaten in their last 5. Almirante Brown, 5 points behind. They had a 4-match win streak snapped last time out. They're at 19 points. And they are at home to Colón de Santa Fe. I have to pick Almirante Brown here. I have to. There is no substitute. You have to pick Almirante Brown in this one. So that is match week 6. That's match number 6. So then Saturday night, 10:30, USL Championship, number 7. And it is Phoenix hosting Sacramento. Phoenix Rising a plus 170, draws a plus 200. Sacramento Republic a plus 145. The standings in USL Championship, once again, we're going to have Kaylor Hodges from the USL show going to be on tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. Western Conference, it is upside down. It is still in the upside down, but this is a battle of 7 and 8. Both teams 3 wins, both teams 4 losses. Sacramento's played 1 less match. Both at 13 points. Sacramento has a better goal difference, but they're on the road in Phoenix. Both teams lost last time out after having 4-match unbeaten runs. So literally, this is so unappealing to me as a matchup. And teams that are not setting each other apart, I'm going draw. Like I said, I'm going 4-card here this week. So Sacramento's played 1 less match. They've won the same number of matches. Sacramento's in 7th. Phoenix is in 8th. Better goal difference, same number of wins. That's your second tiebreaker. So I'm going with draw. So the last match is in Serie A in Brazil. Sunday night, 7:30. It is Remo and Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is having just as much a financial issue as our friends at Botafogo these days. So Serie A Betano, Remo is, 19th. Understandably, they're a dog in this one. 3-6-8, 17 matches played, 15 points. Had a 3-match unbeaten string snapped last time out in a loss to Atlético Paranaense at home, losing 2-1. Then Sao Paulo right now is in 7th, and they're in the playoff play-in section. 17 matches played, 25 points. However, they had a 2-match losing streak snapped last time out with a draw with Botafogo. So you have Sao Paulo, who has only got 2 points in their last 4 matches. They're at 25 points. They're in 7th, 7-4-6. Going up against the team in Remo, who is next to last. 3 wins, 3 matches unbeaten, snapped last time out, losing to Atlético Paranaense, and they are at 15 points. Remo's a plus 200, draws a plus 225. Sao Paulo's a plus 140. I don't think I can resist this one. I think I've got to go with Sao Paulo here. So, tiebreaker. Now we got to come up with a tiebreaker. 2 minutes to go, second period. Carolina Montreal tied at 2. So let's keep it domestic. USL Championships on Saturday. Total number of goals. 10 matches. Total number of goals. USL Championship on Saturday. Charleston, Detroit. Hartford Athletic, New Mexico. Hartford's favored. Charleston's at home. They're favored against Detroit. Indy 11, slight favorite, both on the plus side, hosting Rhode Island FC. Lou City and Tampa Bay, probably your match of the weekend. 7 o'clock, Tampa Bay is a big dog on the road at Lou City. Pittsburgh, big favorite at home against Miami, the Miami FC. Oakland and Colorado Springs, even Steven. Both on the plus side at plus 145. El Paso and Lexington. El Paso's a plus 140 at home. Monterey Bay, plus 140, hosting Loudoun, who's a plus 150. Vegas, plus 150, slight dog to Tulsa, who's a plus 140. And then Phoenix and Sacramento, which is in picks of the week. So, your numbers. Once again, your matchups, 1 through 8. Tomorrow, 11 o'clock in the morning, Armenian Premier League, Ararat Yerevan and BKMA, who is owned by the Defense Ministry in Armenia. Friday at 7:30 in the morning, 7:35 in the morning, Chinese Super League, Liaoning Tianjin and Shanghai Port. I picked a draw. Matchup number 3, Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon Friday, sorry. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, matchup 3, Norway Eliteserien KFUM Oslo, which is basically the YMCA, going up against Tromsø, who is second in the table. I picked Tromsø. Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning, top flight in Finland, Lahti and Ilves. Lahti plus 150, Ilves is a plus 165, draws a plus 240. I went draw. Saturday at noon, Champions League final, PSG and Arsenal. I picked PSG. Saturday at 2:30, Argentine Primera Nacional, which is B flight, second division. Almirante Brown, Colón de Santa Fe. Both teams had the same number. The draw is a worse option to pick monetarily or juice box wise. So I picked Almirante Brown. Saturday night, 10:30 Eastern, USL Championship, Phoenix Rising, Sacramento Republic. I picked a draw. And Sunday at 7:30 in the evening, Brazil Serie A, Remo and Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is favored. Remo's next to last in the table. I picked Sao Paulo. So there you go. That's your picks. I'll try and remember to enter them in before 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And that is the rundown for this week. As always, it's great to catch up with all of you folks. Thanks for your patience and your patronage as always. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. And what we will do is we will have, I believe Casey White's going to return. And we're going to find out what's going on with her in with her time in the NWSL and in Major League Soccer. So, been busy time for KCD, but we do know Kaylor Hodges is going to join us at 10:30. Got sound from Bradley Carnell that we've got to play. We've got a goalie goal from USLW League that we've got to play for opening kickoff and a bunch of other stuff. We'll go over the rest of what happened in Major League Soccer, and it will break down everything that is going on in the craziness where Inter Miami won the first set 6-4, going up against Philly. And like I said, we'll hear from Bradley Carnell tomorrow morning on the morning show, 9:05 Eastern time at Soccer Down here on these places, wherever you picked us up tonight, where we are tomorrow morning at 9:05. It is on YouTube. It is on X. It is on Twitch. Audio is released later, and it's an opportunity to catch up with anything and everything that we're doing here at SDH and SDH AM. So thanks for dropping in as always, as you always do. For all of us here at SDH, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, for Maddie, for Sophia, for Vanessa, and Drew, I'm just John. It's another go-round of SDH and SOT. So since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Much plati y'all. Play it safe, and we'll see you in a little less than 12 hours, almost 11 hours from now. Bye.